Okay, so with the first pick, I think the Jags do end up going Aiden Hutchinson, but this is not like a foregone conclusion. Trayvon Walker, I could certainly picture that. The Jags GM and owner on different terms. The GM wants Walker, the owner wants Hutchinson. In my mind, the owner is more correct because I think Trayvon Walker doesn't have the production to back up being the first pick when Aiden Hutchinson clearly does. That's still the pick for me. I like Aiden Hutchinson to the Jags. Lions at 2 could go a couple directions, but I think the front runner and likely the favorite is for them to go to the original number 1 pick that people are thinking to go number 2. Trayvon Walker seems like makes a lot of sense. He's been shooting up these boards. We've heard the number 1 talk. Again, like I said, I'm not buying into that. Trayvon Walker has a crazy upside. I won't deny that. 6'5", 270, ran a 4.5, very good athlete. Can line up on the outside, can line up on the interior. Just a really mauling athlete, and I like him. But it's not like deserving of a top 3 pick to me. But the NFL sees it that way, so I'm gonna let them do it. Lions at 2 go Trayvon Walker. Texans at 3 here. I think they addressed offensive line. Ike Mequanu's on the board. Someone who's very versatile, can play guard as well, can slide into tackle. I like him a lot there at 3. Jets at 4. Another team that can go a couple directions. They might give up one of these picks for Deebo Samuel. I'm not entirely sure yet on that. There's a couple directions you could go here. I think I'm going to lean more towards Sauce Gardner. First corner off the board is Sauce. One of the better corners in this year's class. Probably the best one, I'd say. 6'2", 200 pounds. Flips his hips really well for his size. Very physical on the boundary. Sauce is a great fit in New York. I like him a lot at 4. Another team that could use a corner, I don't think they take one at 5. I think they go offensive line here. The best one still on the board, that being Evan Neal. Likely just the starting right tackle with Andrew Thomas, who showed promise at his left tackle position. You get Evan Neal, who's a really solid tackle at right tackle, immediately makes an impact. Seems like you have 2 cornerstone franchise tackles on the line to rebuild that offensive line. And you can also slide in the guard if you want him to. Now, this one is with trades. So I think Carolina does trade back. And I'm looking at some teams that could trade up. Now, I don't think this is a quarterback team that would trade up, because the only teams I think that might shoot for a quarterback is Pittsburgh and the Saints. And that's kind of a big jump up from like 19 and 20. So I think there are some teams like Philadelphia and Baltimore who are really craving a corner or an edge rusher. I know I'm clearly a Ravens fan, but play it right now. Ian Rappaport said we have made calls to trade up. So I'm pursuing that in this mock draft. I have the Baltimore Ravens trading pick 14, let's say a second rounder for that 6th rounder. Or we could honestly probably do like 2/3, 14 and 2/3 for 6. Offer trade accepted. Baltimore not picking at 6. Couple players to consider: Charles Cross, Derek Stingley, and Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't think any other players would be in consideration here. And I think I'm going to go to Kayvon Thibodeau. Edge is probably our biggest need overall. Kayvon Thibodeau was the number 1 player in like every mock draft like a couple months ago. Then that whole maturity concern thing happened. Still don't buy into it. Kayvon Thibodeau seems like a perfect fit in Baltimore's defense. Immediate impact edge. Baltimore's craving that. The Zadarius Smith deal fell through. Kayvon Thibodeau, incredible player. I like Thibodeau at 6 to Baltimore. Let's go. Another team that could trade back here is definitely the New York Giants at 7. You've heard a lot of talk about it. There are some teams that I think would be willing to trade up. That could be Seattle, or maybe a team that's trying to jump them for a receiver. Maybe it's the Washington who wants a receiver really badly, or the Jets. Maybe the Jets want a receiver really badly, and I think it's certainly happened. You look at the Jets at 10, they just might want to select a receiver before the Falcons. Maybe they like Garrett Wilson. Maybe it's a whole situation. I don't think I will pursue that because the Giants might not even go. But yeah, that is certainly a possibility. If the Jets try to jump the Falcons, who are a receiver needy team, another team that could be trying to do that is maybe Philadelphia, who wants to slide into things and get a corner. That could make a lot of sense. Maybe they're interested in Derek Stingley. Maybe a team trying to trade it for Kyle Hamilton. It's definitely a possibility. So I think I am going to have the Giants trading back. And maybe that's Seattle, or maybe I still think the Jets might want Garrett Wilson. I really do think that's a possibility. Or maybe it's the Commanders. It's definitely in conversation. It is. I think that's what I'm going to do with. Maybe Washington trades up from 11, tries to get down to 7. Trades like this always happen. There's always something like this. and you got Washington trading up from their original spot and trying to jump him for Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is one of the better wide receivers in this class. Washington is not going to get them at 11. But they can certainly get them at 7. I don't think the Giants would consider taking a receiver, especially if they do that they're probably keeping Kadarius Toney. Washington needs a second weapon to Terry McLaurin. Two very similar players, honestly. Great ball tracking ability. Garrett Wilson is like the best of both worlds between both the receivers in this year's class, Jameson Williams and Drake London. Good size, good speed, great all-around player. Washington gets a nice compliment there to Terry McLaurin in that offense. Falcons at 8 could go a couple directions. There's a couple players I see fitting in this area. Maybe that's Jameson Williams out of Alabama. Maybe that's Drake London. I think they could skip going corner altogether because you have a guy down here. I don't know why he's so far back. In Jermaine Johnson, who certainly is worthy of a pick this high. I think you were aiming for Garrett Wilson, and if a team jumps you for him, then I don't think you take a receiver here. You get your starting edge. There's just an untalented roster to go quarterback, so I don't see that. But a starting edge right away in Jermaine Johnson certainly makes a lot of sense. Seattle 9. I think Seattle goes Derek Stingley here. Maybe you were targeting Jermaine Johnson, but he was selected. Derek Stingley is an credible cornerback, great athleticism, a ton of traits, and I just don't see them taking offensive line here because they never did that for Russell Wilson. So I think they just continue with their ways, draft best player available at 9, which is probably Derek Stingley Jr. Jets at 10, I think don't even hesitate here. They go Charles Cross, defensive tackle. No matter how tempting Jameson Williams is here at 10, you got your starting corner at 4. You get a player who's in that contention at 4 at 10, and Charles Cross, starting right tackle right away. If you need him to be, Mekhi Becton can slide around. I like that to the Jets at 10. Giants also pick at 11. And I think they go Kyle Hamilton here. I think if he slides all the way down to 11, they wouldn't really hesitate. And I like that pick there for the Giants. Now, Vikings at 12 here. I don't think they like the board. Trent McDuffie could make a lot of sense, but I think they rather trade down and collect more capital. And you have a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers who've shown a lot of interest in trading up for a quarterback. Maybe they do this. Pittsburgh Steelers trade 20 in their second round pick for 12. I'm just going to force it because it won't go through. I definitely think it's a possibility that this trade happens. I definitely think it's a possibility that this trade happens. So I think it's more realistic than the PFF thinks it. Well, whatever. You know what? Screw you. Quarterback, Malik Willis. Pittsburgh trades up to 12. Seems like a realistic scenario, to be honest. I might be going a little heavy on trades here, but this is one of the platforms where you can do trades, and I definitely think this could be a very trade-heavy draft, so I'm just kind of guessing. It's not like the exact people or teams trade for the exact players. It's just what I think will be traded up for, what positions. So if I predict those right, I count credit to my mock draft because I definitely think some of these teams will trade up, like the Steelers, like the football team, like the Ravens. You got Malik Willis, who's more of a long-term investment, but you look over here at Kayvon Thibodeau, and you got Garrett Wilson, just teams that are trying to surround their team in talent. And I like this. I like how I'm doing it so far. Texans at 13, couple directions they could go to. I think I'm going to lean more towards Jordan Davis, who is still on the board at 13. It's hard to picture 12 NFL teams pass up on this crazy athlete, but that's what I'm leaning towards right now. Jordan Davis has a ton of physical upside. Could be that starting nose for now, but definitely could be more in the future. I like Jordan Davis at 13. Now, Carolina at 14, couple directions they could go in here. I think O-line might be their best bet. A guy like Trevor Penning is still on the board. Tyler Smith could be a possibility, but I think they're going to go quarterback in Kenny Pickett. Now, this isn't like for sure, but here's the thing. They don't need to take Kenny Pickett at 6 because I don't think any team is going to take Kenny Pickett after that. There's not really a fit I see. Steelers traded up for Malik Willis. I think the Carolina would be fine with that because I think they're higher on Pickett than Willis. You get your quarterback of the future, starts week 1 at 14, and you collect more capital down the board. Eagles at 15, couple directions you go here. You have Jameson Williams on the board. Do not even hesitate, Eagles. If Jameson Williams on the board at 15, you get arguably the best receiver in this year's class. Crazy over-the-top speed, ton of potential at NFL level, takes the top off the defense. Eagles get their receiver 1 at 15. Devontae Smith will be a nice compliment to Williams. I like that. Saints at 16. I think Saints get their starting tackle after the Teron Armstead departure and Trevor Penning. He's on the board here. You traded up for, I think, the reason in mind, trying to jump the Chargers, who are in tackle contention. You get Trevor Penning at 16. Seems like the perfect fit there. Just a modeling tackle. Struggled with some penalty calls there, but you know what? I like that at 16 to the Saints. Chargers at 17. I think they go defensive line here. Devontae Wyatt's on the board. Very good pass rushing defensive tackle. I think you're a little bummed that Trevor Penning and Jameson Williams are gone, but you really get a good third option in Devontae Wyatt. I think he makes an impact right away. Eagles at 18. I think Eagles go Trent McDuffie if he's on the board here. Could definitely be taken a lot earlier. Some of these trades don't happen. You think about a team like Baltimore who stay at 14 and take a guy like him. A very versatile corner out of Washington. Can line up in the nickel, can line up in the slot, can play on the boundary, on the outside. I like Trent McDuffie to the Eagles, who need another corner next to Darius Slay for sure. Saints at 19, and Drake London has fallen really, really far. And I'm almost wondering if a team would offer the Saints to trade up. I don't know how possible that is, but it could certainly happen for sure. I think I'm going to stick with them not going receiver, but he's right there. You know what? Saints go Drake London. I think it makes too much sense. Obviously, it's not the best skill set to match Michael Thomas, considering they're kind of similar players. Drake London is more of a big slot with better hands. Michael Thomas is more of a slant, short route runner type of player. But Drake London seems like a nice compliment either way. Maybe sign someone or draft someone in the second round with more over-the-top ability. But it's not like Jameson Williams is here for you to take. Drake London makes a lot of sense. You still need a receiver, and I think Drake London can certainly serve as that. He fell all the way to 19. I don't think you pass up. Vikings at 20 have a couple directions they could go here. Tyler Linderbaum's on the board, and that seems like it could definitely be a possibility. You got Nakobe Dean here. I don't think they go linebacker, though. It's kind of a hard decision, but I think I'm going to lean more towards Andrew Booth Jr., a corner, and I think that's a good fit at 20. Derek Stingley, who you were hoping for at 12, got taken earlier than you expected. You trade back and get a really good physically dominant outside corner. I like Andrew Booth to 20 to the Vikings, who traded back. Now, New England's always a team that could trade back. You can never count them out. And you got a guy like Chris Olave, who is on the board, and I think the Chiefs might consider packaging their 2 picks. Maybe Treylon Burks too makes some sense. I just think it's certainly a possibility. They always trade back, it feels like. So I think I could lean towards that. They trade back with the Chiefs. But I don't know. It's 2 AFC competitive teams. I don't know. I think I'm going to keep their pick here and have them go Devin Lloyd. They like players like this, kind of linebackers that fly around the field and make plays. Devin Lloyd fits right in with that system. I like that at 20. Now, I think the Packers, no hesitation, go Chris Olave here, one of the more receiver-needy teams in the NFL. That's why I was kind of debating whether the Chiefs would trade up to jump the Packers for Olave, knowing the Packers would definitely go wide receiver. But I'll keep how the board goes now with Chris Olave, 22 to the Packers. Really good player. That's their receiver 1 right away. I like him to the Packers. A team that could certainly consider trading back is the Cardinals. You don't really like how the board looks right now. I mean, you could go tackle and Zion, or guard and Zion Johnson or Tyler Smith. You could even consider going corner here. I don't know who's worth taking, though. Maybe Kyer Elam. I think I could see that happening. I'll go with that. Shoot some upside at Florida. You really don't have a starting corner, and Kyer Elam, at best, could be a second one. Kyer Elam at 23 makes sense to me. Cowboys at 24. I think they go George Karlaftis if he's here on the board. Has a ton of potential. Really just a power move guy, but still really relentless as a pass rusher. I like him at 24 to the Cowboys. Bills at 25. I don't know if they like the board and how it looks right now. You could go running back and a guy like Breece Hall. You always see that happen towards the end of drafts. And you know what? This is my trade draft. I'm going to be more aggressive than usual. Let's say Breece Hall at 25 to the Bills. You're one of the better teams that don't really need positions everywhere, and Breece Hall is kind of a compliment to Josh Allen that can take the load off of him. Really patient and physical runner with some decent athleticism. I like him at 25 to the Bills. That also happens a lot in the draft, where just a team that has a really good roster takes a running back later in the first. I could see it happening. Titans at 26. I think they go Tyler Smith, tackle out of Tulsa. Can play some guard. He probably plays guard year 1 and develops into a long-term left tackle. I like him at 26 to the Titans with their failed, what was the dude's name? The tackle they drafted, Isaiah Wilson experiment. Tyler Smith can certainly serve a better role. Bucks at 27. I think they look at the board and don't even hesitate to take Zion Johnson. Likely the best guard in the class is there at 27. Ali Marpet suddenly retired. You did trade for Shaq Mason, but Alex Kappa also left to Cincinnati. So you get your starting guard in Zion Johnson at 27. Makes a lot of sense. I think that the Packers are a team that could double down on receiver. You see a guy like George Pickens on the board. I know you took Olave. You're still missing some depth there. You also got some edges on the board that I think they would definitely consider. You look at a guy like Boye Mafe. It seems like that's too hard to pass up on. That's where I'm going to lean towards. Boye Mafe to the Packers at 28. David Ojabo also makes sense despite his torn ACL. Or Achilles, my bad. But Boye Mafe to the Packers. Really, really good, I think, immediate impact edge defender out of Minnesota. Chiefs at 29. I think they definitely go wide receiver here. And I have a guy like Traylon Burks still being on the board. I don't think they hesitate. That might be a little late for Burks. But he has a really good catch radius. You can put him on a go. He comes down with it half the time. Also can be used kind of like a Deebo Samuel in some ways. Give him some jet sweeps. Not saying he's that type of player, but he could serve in some fun ways in that Andy Reid offense. So I think it makes sense at 29 if he's there. They also pick at 30. I think they would probably go defensive tackle here. Travis Jones is on the board. You don't go center. You got Creed Humphrey. Maybe you go guard. You could go edge, and Arnold Ebiketie is on the board. I think that's where they would go. You get Traylon Burks and Ebiketie at the end of the first. Seems like makes a lot of sense for them. Arnold Ebiketie has a really good array of pass rush moves. Good spot at 30 to the Chiefs. Bengals at 31. I think they go Tyler Linderbaum. Ted Karras can definitely play guard if you don't want him to play center. Tyler Linderbaum could probably play guard if he puts on some weight. But let's say you switch those two around. You get another upgrade to their offensive line. I like that at 31 to the Bengals. Detroit at 32. I think you select a quarterback here. And I think they go Matt Corral, quarterback out of Mississippi. Kind of an RPO type offense, but I still think it makes a lot of sense there at 32. I liked it to the Lions. But anyways, guys, that's my mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, some of these things aren't going to play out the way they did, but this is a fun twist with trades. Obviously, not all of these trades are going to happen, but some of them I feel like could certainly happen. So that's my mock draft, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.